This is the Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a weekly podcast that demystifies and promotes widespread adoption of cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology. You're listening to episode 22.
Covering blockchain news for the week of October 9th through 15th. This week, Steve had a chance to sit down with Alex Leverington of GolemProject.net. Alex is their lead P2P developer and also an Ethereum core developer. And Steve would like to apologize for using the word steal to describe open source software. Using OSS isn't stealing, and he was wrong to use that word. So here is the interview first with Alex, the lead P2P developer of Golem Project, and then after the interview will be the show.
Hello, Alex.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I am pretty good as well. Yeah, so I'd like to talk a little bit about Project Golem and, maybe your work at Ethereum Foundation.
So Golem is essentially a decentralized supercomputer built on Ethereum. And what that means, though, for application developers and for the system itself, though, is that it's also sort of an Airbnb or an Uber for computing. So if you have computers and they have spare CPU cycles, like at your home or at your work, or you have a data center, the vision is to run Golem on all those machines, and when they're idle, or if you assign them to it, they will look for work. And then, on the other side, people wanting to perform computations will be able to put those systems to work.
Now, are there any sort of problems that only this type of distributed computing could solve, or is it just that you'll save a little money doing it? Why would somebody use the service?
In many cases, I think somebody would use the service either because they don't have access to that infrastructure themselves. Long term, hopefully they would use it because it would be easier to build computational applications on this system, or to at least deploy them to this system. So availability of compute resources, usability of the system, and then third, they would use it for the benefit of the having access to the benefits of the application being within this ecosystem. So Golem has a transaction framework and an application registry, which allows the software developer to be paid for the computations as well. And so, like with this kind of like direct ecosystem approach, there's more an incentive for people to use this system versus deploying something in their own data center or using a cloud computing provider.
You just take that complexity right out of it, because you can just, if you're already working in Ethereum, you can just use Project Golem right in the development using the same code base. Is that one of the benefits?
Yes, so that's one benefit. The other is that if Golem, say for example, adds support for Node.js or Python or Ruby, and you have code in one of these languages, and your code is actually the code that sort of does the work, you can deploy it to Golem and monetize it, right? Or if you're a data center and you work with this software, you can run this software on your data center systems, and when it's idle and you don't need the software to run, you can still let it run, and then other users of the system will be able to utilize that, if that makes sense.
It does, and it sounds pretty cool. Make sure I understand it. So if you're a developer and you have a piece of code that runs kind of a complex calculation, you can put that code on Golem, and a different developer developing an application can then run that code and pay the developer for it, or did I mishear that? Did I misunderstand things?
That's correct.
Wow. Okay, so it's a lot more than just a supercomputer. That you're it's not just paying for CPU cycles. There's also a component for paying for developer talent and putting that within the supercomputer.
Right.
Exciting. Sometimes I think I look at these ideas and I think they may be before their time. I'm not saying that this idea is before its time. Do you feel when do you feel the world will be ready for using this? The mainstream world.
I think, given the development timeline, I think that the world will be ready to use it as it's built and deployed.
Okay.
Now, there's different scales of that utilization, and I would look at those scales as in orders of magnitude. So 10 users, 100 users, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 users, and then 1 million users.
Right.
And maybe users is the wrong term. We could look at systems which are... So if we were to look at utilization of Golem, I think ultimately it's going to be how frequently the compute providers on the network are idle, and how many machines are idle versus how many machines are fully utilized. And I think that with the development timeline of the software, it will start out with a lot of traction, and be, I don't know if valuable is the right word there, but people will be using it. It will fill a void. It will fill a gap that application developers and big data scientists and machine learning systems and video studios need. Like, there's a lot of little gaps that I think it's going to fill.
Right out of the gate.
And then, yeah, right out of the gate.
That's great.
Yeah. And then as things like usability and privacy and the, how do I say this? The modularity of the software improves. That improvement is going to be this curve that's going to hockey stick. And when the quality of the modularity of the software and the privacy and the algorithms and things like that, when that improves, then that's when it really goes from 100,000 or 1 million to 10 million or 100 million machines.
Will every device have this ability? Will every device be providing its extra CPU resources into the system, or like mobile devices, or only laptops and desktops and servers and things of that nature?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know if, I think it's mainly going to be servers,
right,
because our mobile devices are becoming so powerful, yet the battery is really important. So the mobile devices are meant to be powerful when we're using them, not necessarily in the background. And Golem, I think, is really going to be for devices that are meant to run in the background, and it it maximizes that system.
So you think right out the gate you'll get 10 to 100 developers on the system right off the bat, and so is it very similar to, say, like what Storage? Do you see any like partnerships with like what Storage just recently did with Heroku, where you can utilize the storage services to or storage services to store files right within the development platform of Heroku, or do you think this is going to be a standalone system for a while?
So are you asking if you think that Like this could be something that that Heroku customers could use.
If there's any obvious partnerships with
or if Golem could use storage.
Well, pretend like I asked you the better question.
So I think that out of the gate, Golem is something that could be used by Heroku, by any cloud provider, DigitalOcean, where it's kind of tricky because it works both ways. I don't want to say that it's a competitor to Heroku, because Heroku is very centralized, but Golem does share some similarities. So in other words, yes, because like if there was a competitor to Heroku that did what they do, but it's very application specific, maybe they just do it for game servers or something, right? So Heroku could say, okay, well, run this game server software on your system, on your Heroku instance, and and it can use it. Ultimately, I think that's where the modularity comes in, and I think to answer your question, I would say yes, and the other way around. Golem could use Heroku could use Golem.
What do you think about the fork that's going to happen? Is it Monday or is it tomorrow for the Ethereum improvement protocol 150?
I think it's around I think it goes into effect around Tuesday, but all the software should be updated by Monday.
Okay. Do you have any opinions on that, or just in general as a developer for Ethereum Core, and just has there been any issues with this with Golem?
It's interesting. This is like you said, the attacks have been going on since Shanghai, which was, what was that, a month ago?
Just a couple.
Is it less than a month ago?
Yeah, like maybe 2 weeks, I think. 2-3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah, it was beginning of September, or so maybe a month ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it was September 19th to the 21st. So, yeah, in another 4 days, we're going to be going on a month. I think what has sort of bugged me about these attacks is they're very slow paced. They're very methodical, and whoever's on the other side of those transactions, it appears as though they run until they're fixed, and then something else comes out. For me, I think what my thoughts are is that it would be nice if everybody was happy with everything and got along, and everybody wanted to help each other out, and there would be security researchers, and instead of attacking the network, they would just be working with other people to fix these things proactively. That's what I think is that that would be really nice if there were collaborations and things could be fixed proactively. For whatever reason, that's not happening, and I don't see it as affecting Golem unless something really, really bad happens to Ethereum, and then I don't know what happens then. But what is clear though is that the client developers have been very responsive and have come up with solutions quickly.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. This is a double-edged sword too, right? Because I was in Shanghai when those attacks started happening, and talking with some of the other security guys and things, and it's notable that Parity and Ethcore saved the network.
Yeah.
I mean, had there not been a couple of miners running that, the network would have just halted. we actually saw this happen in Olympic during the testnet, I found a bug with a guy and we deployed it, and Olympic just halted for 15 minutes. It was just quiet. Everything was quiet. It was very interesting because you don't know. It's very odd. And then the Python client came along and mined a block. And so during Olympic, there was some random person mining on the Python client. I think maybe with the GPU as well.
Okay.
And then the network came back to life. So there's two things that I see here, or a couple. The first is that there are several clients. There's the Parity client. There's the Geth from the Foundation. There's also Ethereum J, which hasn't really gone down. Like, it's always on ETH stats, and I haven't seen any messages about them having troubles with any of the attacks. So those guys must have done their homework. So, as far as Golem is concerned, I don't think any of us are really worrying because it's really hard to kill this network. Right. When we found the bug in Olympic, another client mined a block, and then you have to redeploy that bug. So if you find a bug, you have to pay to redeploy it over and over and over again. And when there are client developer teams out there that are responsive and they're fixing these issues when they're found, it's you versus like 3 large engineering teams, and the economic cost of continuing your attacks. So it's I don't know what to expect, but I'm not worrying too much about it for Golem because the idea of Ethereum is really sound. I think it's been proven, and now we seem to be at this stage where it's fixing the sharp edges, and making it difficult enough to attack it that there's time to respond and fix it before it affects the health of the network.
Yeah, it's a very large attack space. There's so many different avenues, but I think that the best thing about these attacks is that it really is just securing the system. Ethereum is better because of these attacks, even if it was really sluggish for a couple weeks.
Yeah, and it's a really unsettling phrase, but there's the saying, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. That's worth considering as well. But one of the other interesting things about these attacks is, in many cases, they've looked back at GitHub issues and found that they're related to information that has been found on GitHub. Now that could also be coincidence as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that can make the situation any better. But I guess at the end of the day, for Golem, we're building on the technology, and we're building it on Ethereum, but we're not necessarily building it in its proprietary way that is dependent on Ethereum.
I suppose if scenario does something, or I doubt I don't know much about Lisk. I doubt that Lisk could be used, but I don't know the full details out of it. But it seems like something like scenario might be able to be used. Do you have an opinion on that, or it's not even worth considering at this time? I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't seen. Did they have a chain out and running now?
No. They're just in as far as I know, they're just still in theoretical. Just busy building it. I don't even know if it'll ever get completed.
Yeah, and what we're ultimately building on is we're building on the EVM, and we're building on a blockchain that has that has state storage, and we're building on and that has a consensus protocol, and we're building on top of that. And right now, I mean, even with the attacks going on, there aren't alternatives to Ethereum that have like the Solidity language and the EVM, and the community is so large. If you have a problem, there's a dozen people that want to help you work and find a similar solution. Unless something better comes out, and then it's all open source, right? So if something better comes out, then maybe Ethereum adopts it. And I don't know, like, what about rootstock on Bitcoin? Like, what do we do?
Well, it's just Ethereum, right? They basically stole Ethereum.
No, I mean, how do you steal open source?
Well,
I mean, that's like saying Ethereum stole Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, and then rewrote it.
No, I mean, they are very different, actually.
Okay.
I think what's similar? I mean, there's proof of work, and there's this, acyclic graph of the blocks link back to the previous block, but you can't predict the block in front of you. And so this is an acyclic graph, and then you have proof of work. So these are the two commonalities between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that's ultimately what Satoshi really came up with. That was just really novel. So yeah, I mean, if you want to say we stole it, then we stole it. But
well, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. You have it was 7 years ago. Everybody in the world knew that a peer-to-peer electronic cash system was impossible. Everybody knew that. Satoshi showed that it wasn't, and I don't know if Bitcoin was meant to be, or thought that it was going to be like the only currency or the only use or implementation of the blockchain. I think it was at that point still two words, blockchain, just mentioned.
Yeah.
Where now it's one word. But anyways, and then adding a smart contracting language on top of it was really what I'm telling this for our listeners, not for you.
Yeah.
But so rootstock I think is very cool too, and I think there's I'm certainly in this pro everything in this space. I like to see as many different things as possible. But when I started the show, I wanted it to be only Ethereum. But it just there's so much out there that I thought, why limit it to Ethereum and just make it all about the blockchain in general. I want to talk about your Sorry to talk about me. I want to talk about your ICO. Or is it an ICO or a crowdfund? You have a crowdfund, right?
It's a crowdfund.
It's a crowdfund.
I don't know what an ICO is.
Initial coin offering.
Coin? No. It's a crowdfund.
Okay.
Because I don't know what initial means, and I don't know what offering means. But to my knowledge, it's a crowdfund.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a play on IPO, where you have an initial public offering.
Yeah.
But I don't really. It's a term that's being thrown around a lot. What do you think about the 7.5 million that Singular DTV raised in 17 minutes, and then the 6.5 million that First Blood raised, and I guess the 150 million that the DAO raised, and the 50 million that the hack.ether.cap set a cap on. What do you think about some of those things? You got opinions on any of those? Sorry to ask 4 questions in one.
Oh wow, EtherCamp set a hack? Set a cap? Set a hack?
Yeah, so the and this is kind of, I don't know if you have been following it, but there's a little bit of controversy going on right now where I guess they were using or it seems like they were using sock puppets. So Roman would post something on Reddit saying like, we released the schedule, and then 3 or 4 people would show up saying awesome, and I guess people are saying that that's just Roman. Or,
maybe it's all just our imagination. Like I think either it's our imagination or everybody's doing something. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell.
Yes,
it's a civil problem. We will never know.
I know that some people do it, but I do not. I don't have the savvy for it.
So I think I think it's just a good indicator of traction. Even if these things are kind of self-funded in a way. So like Singular was from Consensus, and Hack EtherCamp is from the EtherCamp guys. I assume the First Blood guys were probably early on. I haven't read much about that at all.
It's I mean, I hate to be like a downer, but it's like just a website and a white paper. I don't know the team that well, but they formed in existence, and less than maybe 2 months later, 6.5 million, 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, is it a cool idea?
It seems pretty cool, using different gaming APIs to play, to wager versus other players.
Then somebody do that, or is it like to wager? So like, so you can bet on the outcome of games or so not bet. Sorry.
Yeah, but I think I'm better than you at Hearthstone. We can bet in Ether.
Futures. What do you call this? Is it betting?
I would call it betting, but
okay, let's call it betting. So they build this platform for betting on matches.
Yeah. And in addition to that, you can run like a tournament around it.
It looks like they're gonna. You know what? If I hope First Blood. I hope they're. Okay, first of all, I know nothing about the platform. Don't read into this.
Okay.
But I hope that they build it and it works great, because it looks like it would run on Golem.
Hey.
Or Golem could actually run their, execute their protocol on people's computers all over the world. It's interesting. Yeah, so to answer your question, I think that...
and it's gamers, so they would have some pretty good rigs. If you wanted to have, people with high-end computers.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign of traction. So like I was saying, the First Blood team is pretty big, it seems.
Okay.
And even if this is like something slightly better than angel investors or something, it's kind of like if you're trying to start a company and you go to a friend and friends and family, and you're like, I'm trying to raise money and we're going to build this crazy application. A lot of times there's hesitance, and there's also like maybe they want to, but they don't, because then they have to go all in, and there's paperwork and friendships, and and so there's a lot of hesitance. Like there's a lot of reasons that it's difficult to raise money to build your business. And so with First Blood and Singular TV and things like this, there are a lot of people around these ideas, and they are just really interested in it. And I think that we're seeing the traction and the scale of what communities can provide themselves with. So I hope they do well. And I know it's a little weird that they raised a bunch of money really fast. We don't think that's going to happen with Golem. Like, we hope it's not, and we're like, but we don't know what's going on.
When is the?
But I think it's good.
When is the crowdfund, or what details can you give me on the crowdfund? I know, I'd like to.
Well, we posted a draft crowdfunding white paper yesterday, and there's no dates yet,
okay,
but it has a lot of information, about how it's going to work. And what we're focused on right now is documenting that process and kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's and everything like that.
Will what sort of rights will being a crowdfunder give you, if any? Do you get any sort of voting rights or you have use of, are you in essence prepaying for use of computing resources, or?
Initially, it just creates the token, and the function of the token is to pay for compute resources on the network, to pay for providers, compute providers, and in cases where there is software as a part of the transaction framework, to pay software developers as well. Now, there is a transaction framework which will allow developers later with I think the second release, maybe even the first. It kind of depends on how these things are sometimes. So no later than the second release, you'll be able to have this. But in the first release, it'll be there. It'll just be static. Like, it'll be an option for the developer. When the software is run, X tokens go to the software developer out of what would go to the compute provider. So this is, there aren't really rights. It's a token that's created that can be utilized by the network and by users of the network and software developers.
So the tokens are kind of like the Golem, currency that pays for compute resources as well as developer time or developer code.
Yeah. Well, it's similar to Ether. So Ether pays for execution of the EVM, and Golem will pay for the execution and computational time of resource providers.
And so what do you think you'll raise? What's your minimum and max? Do you have a max, or just as much as people are willing to purchase?
There is a minimum. I think the best resource on this is I better do the right thing here.
Look at the white paper.
Yeah, I grabbed the white paper here real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, so the cap is 10 million, and I think the minimum is around 500,000 or $1 million or something.
And so if you don't raise the 500,000 or $1 million, it refunds?
It just gets refunded. It just gets refunded by the recipient, I think.
I think there's a lot of buzz about this project, so I don't think you'll have any trouble raising that, provided the terms look good. I haven't looked at the term sheet, but
yeah, and the minimum and the maximum is in Ether, so who knows, what that's going to be. Yeah.
The price hasn't moved too much over the past, has it? Or I haven't looked at price in a while.
Over the past what?
Few weeks. I mean, it's been for a few months.
It's gone down.
Has it?
Yeah.
What's it at?
Yeah, these the
11.93. Yeah.
Yeah, from the tax are kind of straining it a bit, but the thing is you can still use it. There's I don't know. We're looking forward to the Ethereum client developers. They're doing a lot of great work. So.
Absolutely. Let's see. You want to talk about Ethereum Classic at all? I'm just throwing out topics.
I think it's so distracting. Like, I think a bunch of people got together and they're like, they saw an opportunity and they took it. So it is fascinating in one way because it's something that doesn't exist otherwise. I mean, you can't just copy You can't just copy Microsoft and all of a sudden have a different, or you can't just copy an electric company or a water company or a gas company and be like, okay, well, we're just going to run this one differently. And all the users are the same. Everything's just copied, and it's just going to be a little different. So I'm interested to see what happens over the next year. I don't know. It could also get attacked. They could release an update and they mess it up, and like it's the Wild West. I have no idea what's going to happen.
What do you think about Ethereum Classic, which will be created on Monday when the new hard fork for gas changes go into effect?
Are they actually going to do that?
I don't think so. I can't imagine. I can't imagine there's a single person who wants to, except as a joke. But
imagine if you worked for the exchange, and you're like that guy at the exchange, and you're like, oh hey, let's like duplicate a fork again. Everybody's going to give you that look. Like you're like, are you serious? Are we really going to go and update the database and add another instance, of manage another set of nodes, and but
I'm sure there's a money grab for somebody who wants to go through their time.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I just grab popcorn, man. I don't eat popcorn, and I'm just saying that, but I just kind of watch and see what happens. I do really like the Golem project. There is the team has been working on this idea for a couple of years, and they understand the underlying concepts of Ethereum, and I think it's a really good bridge from web applications to decentralized internet. And my interest in it is in developing and improving the peer-to-peer network. I've worked on peer-to-peer networking stuff for a long time now, like a decade.
Well, what was your first experience with peer-to-peer stuff? What did you do with that?
I ran a large BitTorrent tracker, and worked on the C++. I worked on a C++ BitTorrent tracker with a guy called BNBT, and so did a lot with BitTorrent. I just loved BitTorrent when it came out, and found a couple little quirks in it, and then Bram fixed that, and then BitTorrent just started to take off, and it scaled. So since then, I've always been interested in peer-to-peer networking and cryptography. Cryptography came along after that. So I see an opportunity both in Ethereum and in Golem of making it easier for application developers to use peer-to-peer networks than to use cryptography. And Golem is a great use case for that.
What are some of the uses of cryptography that aren't already being used in Ethereum or aren't obvious to somebody in the space that come to mind?
Well, it's not that whether the cryptography is in use or not, or that it's interesting, it's that it's hard for developers to make use of it. So digital signatures, like there isn't a simple Node.js module where you can replicate a system for providing digital signatures between two other systems. Like GPG is not easy to use as well. So it's to answer your question, I feel like it's more like at the application layer. Like Ethereum leverages cryptography in a very low level way that isn't always obvious, and you build on top of that. So because Ethereum is leveraging cryptography, you can safely build on top of it, and there's a lot of integrity. However, applying similar concepts to your own software to, say, for example, a video game. Like, could cryptography be used in a video game? Well, probably. You can prevent the double spending problem. Well, how do you prevent the double spending problem and scale it up to, thousands or, millions of users in, peer-to-peer game? That's not easy. But I think that what we've seen with blockchains and that that this technology is really becoming robust and tested, that we can start making this technology easy to use for application developers. So if all of a sudden you have the next World of Warcraft or the next League of Legends, you may not necessarily have cryptographers and a small team for like network programming. It may be something that you just get out of the box. So I think that's that. I don't think that's a good example, but I think it kind of conveys the idea of what people can do if the technology is easier for application developers to use.
When you talked about World of Warcraft and League of Legends, it brings to mind Spells of Genesis. Do you know anything about Spells of Genesis?
No, I saw it launch. Is that still on Counterparty? I heard at one point they're going to switch to Ethereum, but I don't know what's going on there.
I don't remember exactly if they're on Ethereum or not, but it's such an interesting concept where the game has these cards that are have they're blockchain assets, and so you can trade them amongst people and verify that there's only 100 of them, and you can build other systems on top of these cards that if you wanted to, you can see that somebody owns a card and build your own game that uses the same tokens or the same cards or the same cryptographic proof. So
yeah, that's weird. I mean, it's like, what if you can transfer those assets like between two completely different video games?
Yeah.
And the cryptography lets us do that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's and what if Spells of Genesis was just easy to build? Like, I'm not saying that Android or iOS applications are easy to build, but what if like Spells of Genesis was as easy to build as a native iOS or Android application? All of a sudden, our games could become much more interesting, and they can connect people across games and things like that. So, I think anything, basically anything, if you ask me, and it's built on a blockchain and it leverages the blockchain to do something unique, I think it's interesting.
What are some of the projects that aren't Project Golem that you're most interested in that are going on right now in the space?
Off the top of my head, Oracle Eyes seems interesting. The concept is interesting.
I haven't talked about them too much lately. It's definitely a cool project and something that's needed. It's always tough though, because the whole at this stage we really want to make sure that we have as much decentralized as possible, but you still need to insert this centralized entity to throw stuff into the blockchain, to put information into the blockchain, so these smart contracts that depend on getting external information can function.
It's hard because there's a lot of projects that there are many projects that I'd like to see built, and what's out there so far, I'm kind of biased, and right now for me it's Golem and anything that's built on. There's a project called Status.im, and that's not even blockchain. Like, that's built on Whisper. And
our listeners can check out a video. We just released a video from DevCon 2, so I'll post a link on the on our show notes to a link to Status for their 20-minute DevCon talk.
On what?
On Status. Yeah. Did you? So they're releasing.
I really like that talk.
Yeah, it was, I think, the first one that was released or something, but it was pretty cool. I enjoyed watching it. Did you hear the joke from Vitalik about the state? He was talking about the Ethereum blockchain, and he was, and we store this information in the state. You all know what the state is, right? It's this evil entity that steals a third of your money and bombs people in third world countries. So.
No, I didn't get to hear that. That's great though. I need to watch all the videos. I was there, but man, there were so many people there. I couldn't walk 10 feet without having a conversation. So it was it was difficult to watch the talks.
I heard it described as like, I'm in Milwaukee, and we're not exactly the most futuristic city. But I've heard Shanghai described as like you're literally in the future. It's just the way the building's built. Did you get a sense there too as well that like?
I mean, I'm not sure. That's a really crowded future. I mean, the skyline of Shanghai is nice, and in the city is nice. It's similar to other dense cities with skyscrapers. So, New York, Chicago, Hong Kong, just denser. And the view of the water is nice. The buildings, the buildings all light up. Like there's buildings on both sides of the river, and during certain hours of the night they light up. And I imagine you could probably play a video game on one of them or something. So there's this like futuristic feel to it. But the conference the Hyatt there is great. It's really nice. So, but as far as the future, I don't know. No. I don't know what the future's like.
Thanks so much for doing this. It's always good to have a guest on the show. It's good meeting you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity and the conversation. It's good to talk about these things, get an idea of, get an idea of what people are wanting to know. So, thank you.
All right. We've talked a bit about on the show about something called EtherCamp, the hackathon that's going on with EtherCamp.
EtherCamp.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
That's like a...
Why aren't you there, Steve?
Well, it's like it's an online only hackathon. Yeah, setting them up in Milwaukee, I think.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what's developing in the hackathon?
So it looks like the owner of EtherCamp was kind of accused of having a pretty bad documentation on one of the methods that people could use to create an address. The address creation within EtherCamp allowed anybody to basically create a really weak brain wallet, which made it very easy for people to steal funds.
You said brain wallet.
Yeah, I did. I said brain wallet. Brain wallet's a tough one. Well, I suppose we can touch on that one later.
It's probably a whole new episode.
Yeah, but, right? We'll have one just entitled Brain Wallet.
Well, I mean, it's not really that difficult. You know how you can use like a 12-word seed? You can use a 12-word seed to recover your like lost keys if you open up your Bitcoin wallet. You can have a 12-word seed, and so those words are specifically chosen to be random. They're very good words to use, and if you select those words at random, you can basically generate a number of addresses. But with a brain wallet, what you kind of do is you just choose words and plug that into a calculator and get an address that way. And because when you create a wallet, when you create like an address, you're not actually doing anything. You shouldn't be doing anything but randomly selecting an address. That's what makes it secure, is that it's this really, really huge space of addresses that exist. And if you pick one at random, nobody else has access to it. because you are the one who has, you picked one at random. So you're the only one who knows which one was picked. When you use a brain wallet, you create an address by like using words that are easy to remember, like dog, cats, White Sox, I don't know. And those 4 words then create an address, but it's very, very easy for somebody who knows that you used a brain wallet to hack the funds. And so what happened is that a user of Ethercamp's software used the create address function and ended up creating an address that was not very secure, and his funds were hacked and stolen. And he kind of like brought it to the owner's attention, and the owner was kind of pretty mean about it. Was kind of a jerk to him, and so he's been fighting a little bit with the owner for the past few months online. And it didn't really come to a head until this new thing where they created something like called hacker gold tokens for their hackathon, where users or participants can like buy these tokens, which there's absolutely no reason to add the tokens to it. It seemed incredibly shady right from the start, just like a money grab. Where
I like money grabs, like the ones that they bring out in the basketball court. And
Are you thinking of like the Chuck E. Cheese like ticket grab thing in the air?
but it's in a little box, like a telephone box.
Is that but that's probably
I have
not
big
the same
hands.
kind.
I'm sorry, Steve, go on with the money grab.
Yeah, and so he like set a cap at like $50 million, as if the hackathon needed $50 million. And he was also, apparently he created on Reddit a bunch of fake accounts. So he would post like Ether.camp's new hackathon released its schedule. And he would use like 3 or 4 different accounts to say like, awesome, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
I know people who do that.
Right.
They're so funny.
Are these businesses within the space trying to raise $50 million?
I got a good story about Reddit, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I'll keep it brief.
Can you?
Did anybody watch the second debate with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump?
Hell yeah.
Steve, did you?
I did watch it, yeah.
There was this really nerdy guy in a red cardigan sweater towards the end.
Oh, yeah. He
Ken
was
Bone?
like a little
Ken
voice
Bone.
of... Yeah.
Did you hear about his Reddit scandal?
No.
It's not so much a scandal, but he held up a sign on his Twitter saying, "Hey, Reddit, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything kind of thing."
Yeah.
And he put his username handle or whatever from Reddit, and you can search that. And this article put all of his comments that he did on all the porn that he's ever viewed, and then when he's talking about his vasectomy, and then about it's just some other shit. It's just like it was. I felt bad, but I kind of laughed.
So wait. You mean, I must be missing something because, even just last episode, I was saying to Steve, you use the word attack, and I always find that to be funny because it's all virtual. But in that case, that sounds a bit attacky. That's a pretty, like,
I'd say there's
terrifying.
There's a lot of attacking on Reddit.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you can just have people hack into your, like, if you do something.
No, nobody had to hack. He forgot to delete all of his comments on Reddit.
Oh, I thought these were like personal. I thought you were talking about porn and stuff.
No, he had Steve, you got a username, don't you? Or what do you call it?
Yeah, I have a Reddit account, but it's just the blockchain show.
Oh, you don't have like a
personal account? No.
I still this world of Reddit is a mystery to me.
Well, this guy had one. I forget the name of it. And
So this was information he volunteered. It wasn't like people hacked into his world and like
you could find it. I could find it.
Okay, I was having a moment like a Mr. Robot moment when he went into his therapist's office and started talking about every detail of her life.
You probably just didn't realize that all that information was attached to the name, that anybody could just immediately find all the stuff about him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Some creepy comments about the porn that he liked.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That sounds like, is that something you just put up on Reddit?
Well, it's a name that didn't sound like his name, and he probably thought he was just semi-anonymously.
I always get a kick out of There's not very many good Reddit names left. So it's always funny when there's a story involving somebody from Reddit and their screen name. Not always, but it's often funny because the reporter, for instance, in Dogecoin, there was a username who basically came up with the idea to sponsor the number 98 car in NASCAR, the Josh Wise car. And so the announcer would be like, oh, and now we have Reddit user Unicorn Butt Sex. Who came up with the idea because there's no names taken. There's no names left. And so that literally was his Reddit username, Unicorn Butt Sex.
Oh, that's really funny. That reminds me of the magic hole.
Butt sex for the win today. You know.
What was the story, Andrew? That's one of my favorites right there. Magic hole. That's hysterical.
The magic hole was his PlayStation username.
But it was
that was my choice, though.
I know, but the funny way he came about it, like what a strange way. He wanted Magic Castle, right?
I wish we could call him right now.
I know.
We'll have him on the next episode. We'll settle up this magic hole.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's get back to blockchain. Important, real grown-up blockchain news. I did find a little something, but I'll save it till the end when you get through, the proper relevant information.
DevCon 2 is in the process of releasing a lot of their videos. I think they have 6 released so far. In the one I just sent you,
what is
Vitalik is talking about
Metallic. Oh, I thought you were saying Metallica. It's like, dude, I'm ready for a Metallica video right now. Let's get pumped up.
No, we're talking about Vitalik. No, the Ethereum, right?
It reminded me once I was talking about the state of the blockchain, and you're like, what's the state? And so Vitalik gives his answer. Can we possibly play that?
Is that him?
Of bonded validators. Do people here remember what the state is? It's an evil entity that steals a third of your money and bombs people in third world countries. No, it's the state is the set of sort of current information, that things like balances and nonces that you have to keep track of. And part of the state now is basically keeping track of some set of sort of bonded validators. So bonded validators are kind of active participants in the protocol.
So did you get it or no?
You mean the ones that the part where he's talking about bombing third world nations state kind of thing? Yeah, I did get that joke.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to say. Have in there. So we're just talking about the state on the Ethereum blockchain, which is the current the current variables that are stored in the blockchain,
right?
Such as your address. And he's like, you don't know what the state is,
right? It's the one that's.
It's the evil entity that steals a third of your money.
Right.
Bomb.
Right. But wait. Who was that was
people.
talking?
That's Vitalik. That's DJ.
That's him?
That's DJ Vitalik.
Oh, my God. That's DJ Vitalik. That's so funny. That's what was really stealing. I mean, wow.
It is. We got a shout out to do.
We do?
Steve, I saw a conversation on the Facebook.
Yeah, that reminds me. We did. Somebody started researching blockchain, came across their podcast, and was listening to us from the beginning. So that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that is pretty.
I commend you
cool.
Because I couldn't do it. I started on episode 1.
Well,
let's see. So who? It was.
Drum roll.
Todd Hagel.
Todd Hagel. Thank you, Todd. We love you, Todd.
Welcome to the show. All right, I'm glad that's done now. Because this is going someplace strange right away.
I suppose we should. He asked a question about what happens when the blockchain reward for miners gets halved every 4 years. So what happens when there is no more?
Wait, let's let Sarah answer this question.
No, wait.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead and answer it, Sarah. Let's.
No.
What happens?
I don't even know what the question is, so I guess I'm. What happens? But is there a blockchain, or is it a joke from the start?
Oh. There is a movie coming out by there's a movie being written by the Coen brothers.
Already good.
They're going to write about the dark web. Remember the stories I've talked about? Carl Force Jr. and Ross Ulbricht and like fake murder for hire.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Double and triple agents.
Yep.
And the dark web. So the Coen brothers are right now writing the screenplay.
Sweet.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
If you don't know the story, it is a fantastic story that I won't even bother explaining.
Yeah, don't ruin it. Do you know what they did with the Odyssey? That was pretty good. That was one of my all-time favorite movies.
What was that called again?
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? That soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks, hands down, period, exclamation mark.
One of Ethereum's other founders, Gavin Wood, just announced that he is writing a book with Andreas Antonopoulos called Mastering Ethereum.
Mastering Ethereum. It's kind of cocky.
That's pretty cool. Well, the book that Andreas wrote was Mastering. Guess what he wrote?
A bit the coin.
Yeah, Mastering.
Sorry. Great guy.
Mastering Bitcoin. And so, obviously, if you're writing a book with one of the co-creators of Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't have much to say about Ethereum on the last Joe Rogan experience.
Yeah, he was pretty spooked by the whole DAO fork thing. I think he sold all his Ether because he was scared of it. There's like, you know, in the Bitcoin, people who are really into Bitcoin, the coin, not Bitcoin, the protocol, were really like taken aback by the whole DAO fork and, you know, the whole hard fork thing. And there is another hard fork plan for Ethereum.
No fucking way.
Absolutely. Ethereum will have forked again by the time this episode airs on Monday, I hope.
Dude, it's a fork fest over there.
Yeah. Right now, right now it's pretty much unusable.
Well, guess what, Steve? I got rid of all of my Ether. And
how did you get rid of it?
I shape-shifted that bitch.
To what?
To Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
To the whopping amount of less than $5. Somewhere in between $4.50 $5. What persuaded me to do such a thing? Didn't really mean to do it. I was just more like exploring, and then I fucking did it, and there's no going back.
Was this before the jump from 600 to 648, or 640, or afterward?
Okay, the transaction history would have been September 18th, 2016. It
Sorry,
went up.
I had
Yeah,
to go.
now it's $5.61.
Okay.
Wow, so good trade then.
Guys, I'm fucking loaded.
You
I'd like to thank Nelson.
Nelson, I was just thinking about him.
We have an awesome guest coming up next week.
Is that really happening?
I hope so. The executive team from Chronicles is coming on next week.
Is he badder than Bootsy Collins playing the space bass?
I would imagine so.
Okay, I'm on board.
Chronicles is this fascinating company that we've talked about a few times on the show, and I really like they do the sneaker counterfeit.
Oh,
thing.
right. Yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
And the reason why it's so amazing to me or the reason why I like the company so much is that when you're a customer of counterfeit sneakers, you don't even know that you're using the blockchain. You know, you just have an app. You hold your phone near a pair of sneakers and tell you whether it's counterfeit or not. And I think that
you don't even know.
You don't even know. And I think that's what it's going to take to, bring this mainstream.
Sneak it by them.
Sneak it by them. That's right. They just released a video. They had a hackathon, an internal hackathon, and one of the creators came up with a way to deliver, like, the drone delivery directly into your house using the blockchain. So this person, there was a video, and this person woke up and realized they were out of medications, and so they texted, "Please deliver my medications," and it's like, "Your medication will be delivered in 5 minutes." And she got up and went to the bathroom, and this drone came up to her window and drone knocked.
Wow.
And then the window checked the blockchain to see if there was an okay for the drone to come inside the house, and sure enough, there was until the window opened and the drone came in, dropped the medicine on the bed, and then left.
Whoa!
So we'll totally find out more about this on next week's show. This is just a teaser for next week, you know.
So wait, though. That's really like what you're going to be talking about next week? Because now I truly am. My interest is piqued.
We had a guy who knows a lot about drones.
You and everybody else is going to want to listen next week. Anything else in the blockchain? So you had some blockchain news?
No, this isn't exactly blockchain. It's just something I couldn't stop thinking about, and it's computer related. So there you go. That's the link. And there's a bunch of geniuses that listen to this show. So I thought we're better to talk about such things than sitting in a room where nobody really is, and I'm just imagining a whole bunch of geniuses listening to me. But Neil deGrasse Tyson counts, I think, and brings me some...
Love Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Right. So I got some cred going, because he was the guy who was talking to the guy, whose name I can't remember, this theoretical physicist who finds computer code in string theory, but not just any computer code. That's what cracks me up. This is 12 minutes. The other thing I listened to was 4 minutes.
String theory.
Yeah.
Is it like Brian Greene or anything, or is it
Lawrence
Krauss?
Yeah, no. I think the person used James Green or something like that.
So where has this pursuit taken you?
Oh my God.
Where have you landed?
Why would you ask that?
I'm asking you that here and now. It's New York City. It's March 7th.
Well, partly it's taken to these very strange images that are behind your head right now. These are pictures of equations. I've been, for the last 15 years, trying to answer the kinds of questions that my colleagues here have been raising. And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes, just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web. And so I'm left with the puzzle of trying to figure out whether I live in the matrix or not.
Wait, you're blowing my mind at this moment. So are you saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers?
That is correct. So,
wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos?
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code?
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code, you're saying it is computer code.
It's not even just is computer code, it's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory, and in general in systems that we can say are supersymmetric.
Okay. Time to go home, I think. Where are we going to go? So are you saying we're all just, there's some entity that programmed the universe and we're just expressions of their code?
Well, I didn't say that. Some of those
like the Matrix? That's what you said.
Some of those codes are showing on the screen behind you right now. They don't look like codes, but these pictures, which we call adinkras, are graphical representations of sets of equations that are based on codes.
That. I know what that is.
So this is, in fact, to answer your question more directly, I have, in my life, come to a very strange place.
It's on our kitchen table.
I never expected that the movie The Matrix might be an accurate representation of the place in which I live.
Jim, may I give you an argument that we don't live in the Matrix?
Please. Yeah.
Very simple argument.
Give me one now, quick.
Very simple argument. There's a property that the real world right down here has that no mathematical equation has, that no solution of an equation has, that no abstract object has. Here in the real world, it is always some moment, which is one of a series of passing moments. And a mathematical equation doesn't have a flow of time in it. It just is.
No,
and this means...
But Lee...
Wait, let him finish. Wait, I need him here and now.
This means that, to me, that the ancient metaphysical fantasy that we quote are just mathematics cannot be true, because in a world that was just mathematics, there would be no moment of time.
Why isn't there math as a function of time?
I'm sorry.
We solve these are differential equations.
But,
no, but Lee,
then you lay the solution out.
Lee,
X is a... Yeah.
You're mistaking. You keep using the word is, and I'm talking about the word describe. You see,
But describe is fine. But
But
then we're
let me
matrix.
finish, please, since we started with my discussion. The point is that it's fun to talk about some deep metaphysical essence that sits behind physics. But for some of us, it's about trying to find the most accurate way to describe where we live. And so my statement is that in the description of our universe, that is a supersymmetrical universe, which we were going to test in the LHC. If you believe that description, I can show you the presence of these codes. That's my statement.
That's beautiful, and that's fine, and I admire that. Seriously, that's fine. That's another beautiful piece of mathematics that may be explanatory or descriptive of physics.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It got my imagination going.
It's always interesting if you just think about your PlayStation or Xbox, the sort of virtual realities that exist that live inside of the video gaming system. And it's not really too hard to imagine in the future having really, really accurate in-game worlds.
The PlayStation VR is for sale now.
Yeah, not too distant future.
Kind of run, just entirely on its own in a machine. And if the type of systems that are capable, if it's capable of actually producing sentient beings that live inside a computer, the number of simulated universes would far outweigh the number of actual universes, because once you create one simulated universe, you can create dozens or hundreds or thousands or millions of simulated universes. So if it's possible to create a simulated universes, the chances that we live in a simulated universe are much, much, much more likely that we do live in a simulated universe.
According to Elon Musk, it's like 1 in a billion that we don't.
So what's the cheat code to get more money?
Wait, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Were you done? And I happened to say something at the right time?
Blockchain show.
I think I was done, but no, I mean, doesn't it make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And so did what Elon Musk said, which I'm not going to play again, but...
was that Elon Musk there?
No, that wasn't...
Play it? You never played it? Well, he also says that developing artificial intelligence is, quote, awakening the devil.
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, AI really hasn't done shit. It's one of those...
It's because it's not connected to the internet.
Are you provoking it, Steve? I was just saying to Ethan, you better watch how you talk to Siri, man. She's going to remember everything.
Hello, Ethan. I'm in your car.
You spoke to me. You were a teenager. Remember.